Hello, welcome to RNBV, which stands for Retired NB Veteran. Basically, I'm a Navy veteran. I served from 84 to 88. During the Cold War, I worked on E-2C aircraft, and I was stationed in San Diego, California. Back then, I actually wanted to do some sailing, and they provided sailboats for us, and so I took the classes and was able to sail in Coronado Bay. So yes, I'm retired now, and my work career was quite interesting. We've had several recessions and pandemics and economy collapse, and so we would get laid off every one of those kind of times, and so I was pretty much those were the downs. The ups were when we had work and there was good money to be made. And so but sometimes the work was somewhat abusive, you might say. Anyways, I'm tired of that kind of garbage and the rat race, and I just want to be able to live my life and as stress-free as possible, and definitely without all the crazy stuff that goes on in the working world nowadays. Anyways, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life. I used to do ranching in the past, and of course I used to train horses in the past, but I couldn't get anybody who would bite to let me work, even volunteering, on their ranch. Maybe because I'm 61, and maybe because I'm extremely overweight, who knows. Anyways, so I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, and I was watching YouTube videos, thank goodness for YouTube, and I saw these boat videos on people restoring boats and people going out sailing, and I just thought, wow, that would be something I'd really like to do, although my budget is very limited and extremely limited. And so I was looking for somebody who was really getting rid of a boat that was in pretty good shape, that I wouldn't have to do too much work on it, that I could go out there and sail pretty quickly with minimal expense. But maybe later I could do some work on it so that it gave me something to do. Anyways, so I saw this ad on Facebook Marketplace, and you can see that it was an 84 Catalina 22. The person said he paid for it, $5,000 for it 2 years ago, and that he had it for sale for $3,000, but he wasn't selling it, and so he dropped it down to $1,000 because he needed to leave like in 2 weeks. And so we talked. He was a veteran as well, and he said to me that he believed that this boat was every bit worth the money, and that decks were solid, that it didn't have any wet spots and things like that. It came with a motor and everything like that, and so he said he thought it was good. And of course, yeah, you should normally go get your boat checked out by a surveyor, but that's expensive, especially if you're spending for a $100,000 boat. Definitely go and do that. But I mean, even at $1,000 boat, if things go wrong, you're only out $1,000. Now, $1,000 when you don't have a lot of money and income, that can be a lot of money as well, which in my case is. But when I started out with this deal, I figured I had about $4,000 I could put into this boat. And so, $1,000 up front for the boat, then some maybe new tires, some bearings, and then, maybe if the motor needed some work, registering it, getting PFDs, maybe new battery, those kind of things. I just figured that was plenty of money to be able to get it up and running, get it out in the water, and go out and have a little bit of fun with it. Conroe, Texas is about 400 miles away, and so that's a little bit of a drive. So, and of course my car didn't have a tow hitch, and so I had to go buy a tow hitch. That was like $500 up front. Wow. So $1,000 for a boat and $500 for the tow hitch. Anyways, so I take off to Conroe, Texas, and I buy the boat. And so we're going to go to the next picture here. So here's what the boat looked like when I got there. We had actually just taken the mast down. You can see the mast here. We took it down, and we tied it off to these blocks of wood up front, and there's some blocks of wood in the back. It does look like a nice boat. You can kind of knock on it, and it just doesn't seem like there's anything wrong with the boat at all. And, maybe not. I'm not sure at this point now. But anyways, so obviously, nice boat, pretty good shape. I paid the money. The guy pretty much took the money, and then he split. He said he didn't want to deal with it anymore because he hated that he took such a loss on the boat. And I'm sorry that he took a loss on the boat because, nobody wants to lose, no doubt. Anyway, so this needed tied down better, and so I spent some time tying it down. However, apparently I didn't do a very good job because the boat master for this area came over and he inspected my work and he didn't like it. And so he climbed up on board and he redid everything I did, so I'm thankful for what he did. And so he got my boat tied down and made it where I could trailer it. Anyways, of course, now at this point in time, this boat had been sitting, as far as I was aware of, 2 years. And so there was a possibility these tires could be bad, and there was a possibility that the bearings needed to be repacked. So it was time. Of course, I forgot to mention, when I got to Conroe, Texas, the alternator on my car decided to go out. Now, this was a Friday evening, and so in order to get somebody to fix my car on a Friday evening when everybody was getting ready to go home, it ended up costing me almost $1,000 to get it done. Oh my goodness. So now I'm into this boat, $2,500, and it's still sitting in Conroe, Texas. Anyways, so I have to stay the night in a hotel. No big deal. I figured maybe one night in a hotel was probably going to be. This is a lake, and so the price was a little pricey. So I stayed the night in a hotel. The next morning I got up, went looking for a place to change the tires. I went and got tires changed, but they didn't do bearings. 2 tires and a spare was about $450. So now I'm into this boat, $2,000. Well, plus the hotel. Anyways, can't find anybody to do the bearings whatsoever. At the end of the day, now you gotta remember, this is Saturday night now. End of the day, I finally find somebody at an RV service that said he would do them, but he would have to do them overnight. And so I had to leave the boat with him. So I leave the boat with him and I go and check into another hotel. The next morning I get up and I go to get my boat with the bearings, and he charged me about $350 or $400 for, apparently the bearings were all bad and he had to replace them. And so, I paid the money. What was I at? Maybe $250 now, $2,500 on the boat, maybe something like that. Maybe we're approaching 3,000 by now. I don't know. Anyway, so so I get on the road. I'm getting past Houston because Conroe, Texas is just north of Houston. And I pull over to take a look at make sure everything's going okay on the trailer. And I see that the dust covers are gone on the trailer, which is for the bearings. And I'm like, what? Why is the dust cover gone? And so I'm thinking maybe the guy just didn't put it on right. And so I went down to an automotive store on a, what is this? I guess it's a Sunday. I don't know what day it is. Sunday. Oh, it's a Sunday morning. And I get to the, I get dust covers, and I have to buy a hammer because my hammers are at home. And I put the dust covers on, and I get going down the road again. And I pull over about 50 miles down the road, and I look again, and the dust covers are gone again. I'm like, what is going on? Obviously, there's something wrong, because why would the dust covers are not staying on? Something's wrong, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know how to fix this. Anyway, so I start looking for somebody on a Sunday that would be willing to look at the bearings and figure out what went wrong, and I couldn't find anybody. And so I realized I'm going to have to get another hotel, and hopefully Monday morning when people wake up and everybody's back at business, that I can find a place that can help me fix this problem with the bearings on this trailer. So Monday morning happens. I go down to the only place in town that's an automotive store, and I asked the guy, "Hey, would you do me a favor and look at these bearings and figure out why the dust cover keeps coming off? What's wrong?" And he informs me that he's too busy and doesn't have time, but that he would provide me the tools that I would need to go ahead and try to figure it out myself. So since that was the only option I had, I was like, okay, let's go. So I jacked up the side that was missing the cover, and I took the cotter pin out, and I don't have pictures of this because well, who knows? I didn't. Yeah, and sure enough, the wheel was wobbling, and the nut was completely loose. I asked the guy who owned the auto shop how that could have happened, given that I just paid a guy like some pretty good money to repair this. So why would he says that he thought there was a burr that maybe that when he went to go put the tire back on, that the bearings in, that it probably caught the burr and didn't seat all the way proper, and so he probably thought he had it tight proper, but it wasn't. So once I took it down the road, the bearings seated proper, and now there was all that wobble, which is what was causing the dust cover to come off. Anyways, so I tightened. He said everything should be fine, so just tighten the nut. So I tightened the nut on, and then I put the cotter key back in. We put some more grease on it, and then I put new dust covers back on it again. So it looks like I'm back on the road. Now this is Monday, and I go about another 50 miles down the road, and I pull over, and the dust cover's gone again. Now, at this point in time, I'm very confused. I'm thinking, maybe I had some grease on the dust cover. Maybe I put the dust cover on wrong. Who knows what went wrong? So I'm going to take a risk again and buy another set of dust covers and see if everything will be okay. So I bought another set of dust covers, and I put them on, and then I went down the road another 50 miles down the road, and I checked, and hey, they're still there. Then I went down the road another 100 miles, and still there. So I finally made it all the way home, but within the last 10 miles, all of a sudden my steering starts wobbling, and it turns out that something went wrong with the front tires on my car. Anyway, so the next photo here is the boat here at my house. I backed it in, and so now you can see that it's got the new tires I put on. Here's basically, but it's at new location where I live. Anyway, so I end up now. I have a second car that's really for parts, and so it had some good tires on it, and so I went ahead and swapped the tires from the other car to my car, and that fixed the problem. And so when I got the bill for all this stuff, for the boat and for the traveling, the hotels, and all the expenses, I had spent $4,000, which was all I had intended to spend, and I still haven't even did the registration. I haven't bought PFDs. I haven't bought batteries. I haven't checked the engine to make sure it's going to run, because I'm sure I'm going to have to clean up the carburetor and things like that. So none of that's done, and yet I've already expended every dime that I had set aside for this. So that's quite frustrating. Anyway, so I started taking inventory of the boat, and right away I noticed that here's the boom right here, and this is the rudder, and it's apparently this hit thing here raises the rudder up for you. It's 3/8 pintles, and so there's the rudder. Here's the hole. I don't know what this is called, if it's called a pintle or a socket. I don't know. But I took a quick shot of this. Apparently this is the old style. There's a newer version, I guess, now. Somebody said I should replace them, but I don't know. Now that I'm out of money, we'll see. Anyways, this was the back of the boat. I was in the process of changing the tires when I took this picture. This is my old car, and my new car's, I don't know if it's in the pictures or not, but so I was changing the tires, and this was just one of the tires that I was changing. So here was this is a Evinrude 6 horsepower 2-stroke motor. And so this is kind of like the back of the boat. You can see where we tied things off back here. And like I said, this is a Catalina 22. And then we put jacks behind here just so that the boat doesn't, when you step in the back of the boat, it doesn't tip all the way back. It's a common thing with this trailer. Anyways, the trailer itself has a little patina or rust on it. And so that might need some work. But I suspect this winch definitely probably needs taken apart and lubed and cleaned up. And this feels stiff as can get out, so I suspect that the strap needs to be replaced for this. And so that's one of the things that the trailer needed. Here was the serial number for the Evinrude motor. Basically, it just was telling me that it was a sailing 6-volt, and it was a long shaft type of motor. And I looked that up for information I needed for getting a carburetor rebuild kit and a fuel pump. Anyways, then I bought a stand to put the motor on. Right now I'm waiting for a friend to show up that would help me lift the motor onto this stand so that I can start working on the motor. And of course I'm waiting for the parts to show up as well. All right. Finally, I got a ladder next to the boat and decided to climb in. You can tell the boat is very dirty. It sat for 2 years, according to the guy who sold it to me. Although when I was in the boatyard, somebody told me this thing had been sitting a little bit longer than 2 years, maybe a lot more than 2 years. So this boat may be not as good a shape as what he said. And so I guess we'll have to find out the answer to that question eventually. Anyways, so you can see this is looking inside the boat, looking aft. And then this picture is looking forward from sitting inside the boat. Fortunately, I sprayed some stuff in all the locks, and so they all were open and they all work. I opened it up. This is, there was some other stuff in here, but this is pretty much what it looks like on the inside. So it does have a few cushions, it looks like it has a few buckets and cleaning supplies that are just kind of laying around. Like I said, there is other things I took out, but and it looks pretty dirty. Looks like it needs cleaned, but not bad for a small boat and for what I paid. I did open up the into the bilge and took a look at and saw what their seacocks look like, and they look like they're fairly newer. Looks like somebody did some work on this, so that probably doesn't need to be fixed or repaired. And I did notice that it has a small battery, probably not a marine battery. It has a solar charger, so apparently that's what this thing does here, is to solar charge the battery. But the battery, I think, is completely dead. That's what the guy told me, so it needs to be replaced. And he said something about wiring might need to be replaced. I'm not sure why this looks like it's a shore power wire here. So I'm kind of confused about that because I don't see a shore power connector, so I'm not sure what that's there for. It does have the more modern breaker box. I had a picture of it, but I forgot to upload it to my computer, so you're not going to get to see that picture, but it does. But he said there were some wiring issues. I did see some snipped wires, so I have to kind of figure out what's wrong. I haven't worked that yet. These were the sails that came out of there. It came with 2 mainsails, a jib, and a genoa. And this was the solar panel here that charged the battery. And so I actually pulled them all out. I think this one right here was the jib sail. It was just stuffed in there. They didn't roll it up. They didn't fold it. No, nothing. So I went ahead and laid it out in my living room, and I folded it. And so here's the jib sail folded before I put it in the bag. And then it had 2 bins in there and a toolbox. This bin predominantly had air horns and had these are some ropes, and it had this was a fire extinguisher here, but it had some other old fire extinguishers in here. And this bin had the thing that tells you which direction the wind is coming. It had a handheld radio in it and a few other items that, you know, so I kind of separated all this stuff out and, you know, oh, it had a brand new first aid kit in there. Anyways, I looked at the toolbox. It's some basic tools in the toolbox. And so, yeah, so that all came with the boat. Obviously, I was going to need some PFDs. And so I went on the internet and I found somebody who said they had a brand new Mustang PFDs and for sale. It was a good price, and so I said I would buy it. When I went to go buy it, she said, I actually have another one that's used, but it was worn, not used, and it's good shape. Would I be interested in it? She gave me a really good price on that. And so, as you can tell, this still has the packing on it, so this was brand new. And this was the one that was worn. Anyway, so I ended up getting 2 PFDs for a really good price. I did try them on, and they both fit perfectly fine. Anyways, all of a sudden, out of the blue, basically we decided we were going to have a lot of rain, and so the water started filling up inside the cockpit, and so I turned out that the drains were were just filthy, and so I cleaned out the drains, and it started draining, although slow. Although I was told that the keel gets in the way, maybe that's why it's slow. But I think it needs cleaned out. I think we need to figure out how to clean out these things. But anyways, it does drain. It just drains slow, and like I said, you can see how dirty things are. I did figure out that that you had to have the bow up higher so that the water would drain down the side here and then out this area. Otherwise, it just stands in that little gutter. And so I had to raise up the bow to get that to go out. By the way, the name of the boat is At Last. Not sure what I think of that name, but it is the name of the boat. So we'll see. Anyways, this is the pulp. This is a pulpit, and this is somebody who made a little device to hold the mast in when it's down, when it's being trailered. And so I'm thinking about building this, and they said they just used a vinyl fencing rail, and so I went to Home Depot and ordered me one of those. And so here's the vinyl fencing rail here, and this is a 4x4 to give so I can create some support for the mast when it's sitting trailered. And so I plan to cut this and do some work on it and make it. This is an 8 foot long, because that's the smallest size that they provide. And so I'm hoping that that's so I have plenty of room to make mistakes, basically. It looks like, is that the last picture? Oh, I'm surprised. Anyways, so there you go. There's my boat. It's a Catalina 22. Yeah, when I got the bill, it turned out that I spent the $4,000 already that I had. So at this point in time, I have a few items I've purchased, so I can work on the boat for those items. And until either somebody helps me or somebody hires me to do some part-time work or whatever, this boat will pretty much just sit here. Like I said, I do have the carburetor kit. I do have the fuel pump. And so I can work on the motor. I can work on this thing for the mast. Yeah, the boat needs a battery. It needs, what else does it need? Well, it needs it needs the lights replaced, the tail lights on the trailer, but the guy actually has a trail light kit here, so I can actually fix that. There are some other problems I'm noticing on the boat now, and so we'll get into it in another future video. Anyway, so there you go. This is an attempt to try to have some kind of life in my retirement. Hope you enjoyed the video. And like I said, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. If you want to help, there's a link in my About section for a PayPal link. That would be nice. It would help me get other parts, maybe get this thing going. I'm on a very, very, very limited budget because of my retirement. And so, you know, it's slow. It's going to go slow. But I will do videos. I don't have a camera to record live videos, so I just take pictures with my phone. And so, like I said, hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you next time.